Welcome to West Brom Fan TV again. It's Freddie Davis back as normal for the preview. We are going to be reviewing our game with West Brom Albion against local rivals Birmingham City. Now, we lost our last game before the international game to Stoke. You could say the scoreline flattered us somewhat because Stoke probably should have had 4 or 5. And Sam Johnson made a great penalty save, but we were really not at the races that game. But we got to put that behind us. We got to focus on this game against Birmingham. So, Dave, would you like to say a few thoughts to start with?
Well, the Stoke game, as you say, it was very flat. It was very poor. It wasn't great. The scoreline did flatter us. I mean, Johnson had a blinder of a game, I thought. But, we used up 8 out of our 9 lives by about 80 minutes. And then finally the last one went with that goal from Nick Powell. So,
it's a good finish,
it was. I mean, I'll give Stoke a lot of credit because it was a Michael O'Neill side. They set up as they wanted and the game plan came off.
I completely agree. And the thing is, with that game as well, Stoke missed quite a few sitters and actually took probably the more difficult chance of the ones they had.
Yeah. It was, they had a lot of chances. But Johnston had a fantastic game, and it should have been 3 or 4 on another night. But a loss is a loss. It's our first one in 11. But I do think we can put it right against Blues. I know I say that with every match we don't win before, but this one I do think we can put right for various reasons, which I think we'll say about.
Well, there's a few things before we go into the players, and I know there's a certain player that you're going to want to talk about, but before we go into the players, there's external factors with this game that are going to play a big part. So we've had the COVID pandemic. We've had games without fans for such a long time. This is definitely going to be probably our fiercest game since fans are back in terms of the policing, crowd trouble. For people that say Birmingham's not a rivalry, for anyone who's been to a West Brom Birmingham game, it's not a pleasant fixture to go to. There's a lot of trouble at these games, and it's always a very hostile atmosphere, regardless of whether you think it's a derby or not. And that's going to play a big part.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I agree with you that it is hostile. It is a Midlands derby. Yes, in one respect, we do have mutual enemies in the Villa and the Wolves, but it is a Midlands derby. It is fierce. There is a lot of passion in this game, let's say. But from my personal perspective, I like the Blues fans, if I'm being honest.
I like them.
Yeah, because I have a lot of mates who are Blues fans, and a lot of 2 of them especially, Paul and Craig Taylor. Hello. They are very, very passionate with Blues fans. They go home and away, and I remember the one time I had a picture with them on the Halfords Lane, and there were Blues fans walking past us, seeing me interlinked with these 2 blue noses, and they were like, what the bloody hell are they doing?
I've got a lot of friends that are Blues fans as well. I completely understand what you mean, because I've actually done similar things. I think the problem is it's a Midlands rivalry, and probably Albion fans will get along with Blues fans a lot better. But there are some naughty fans for Birmingham City, and there's some naughty Albion fans. And I think that's what always cut. And we always get along and stuff. I have like you said, a lot of Blues fans, mates. But I think the one that rings a bell is not actually the 3-2 at Birmingham, but when we won 3-2 at the Hawthorns it was after Darren Moore. Was it? Who was in charge? Jimmy Shan, was it?
I can't remember. It was definitely around that period. I think it was after Darren Moore got sacked. Yeah, correct us if we're wrong, anybody.
But we beat Birmingham 3-2 at home, and that was probably one of the atmospheres of the season. That was, and then obviously you've got your 3-2, which will forever be associated with the name Charlie Austin. And honestly, is that game probably the reason why I can't say a bad word about it now, because it's probably the best away game I've ever been on.
Yeah, that was a class game. That was. It was never forget that atmosphere. It was fantastic.
I think the other factors that have to be thought before you get into a footballing aspect of the fact that it's just off international break. You know, Birmingham City have been on a horrendous run of form. Ours has been mixed. In 4 days, we tore Cardiff to shreds and got battered by Stoke, basically. And teams have had time to recuperate. It's one of those ones where it's going to be a game that neither side is going to want to lose more than they're going to want to win. They will not want to lose this game one bit, either of them.
No. You say about, there's been the international break. Ishmael has always maintained that this is a rest period for them to recharge the batteries. And I do think they'll be fully raring to go with, obviously it's high pace, high intensity. They'll have energy levels at 100%. It's going to be very fiery. And again, Blues not a good run of form. They had a decent start, beating Sheffield United and getting some good victories, some good points. But there'll always be the worry with Blues fans that they'll be sucked into a relegation dogfight. I think if they continue on the form they're going, that could happen. But it's going to be a very, very fiery encounter, definitely from both sides. Both sides will want it badly.
Now, if we can go on to key players. Now, usually how this works with key players is that I will talk about the home players and Dave will talk about the away players. However, I'm going to talk about the away players because I know there's a home player that Dave is very much what I want to talk about. So I'm going to say a few key names for Birmingham first of all, because I know you're bursting to say something, Dave. So you've got for Birmingham, first of all, you've got Tahiti Chong. There's one in particular now. He started the season very well and he is very, very highly rated amongst Blues fans. You've got Luke Djukovic, who always seems to score against us every single time without fail.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Scott Hogan. You've got Harley Dean. Pedersen doesn't play for them anymore, does he?
Not sure. I know he.
Pedersen does. It's Clifton Bell that doesn't.
Clifton Bell, yeah, that's the one.
Ivan Sunjic is a decent player. Tahiti Chong is the one in particular, though, because I've watched him. He's picked up 3 Man of the Match awards for Birmingham, which is the most of anyone so far for a respective club. I watched him particularly their first game of the season when they played Sheffield United, and he was incredibly good that day. And Birmingham have got some good players in there, and they've got quite a good manager in Lee Bowyer. He certainly improved them. They're still shaky from time to time, but Birmingham are a lot more comfortable an outfit than what we saw last season. So Dave, he's Deeney. Oh, I forgot about him, but yeah, he's a key player for Birmingham. Obviously, a Blues fan, but also someone. I watched a lot of his videos when he joined Blues. He said he didn't join Blues for a swan song. He wanted to be a part of a rebuild, and he's a good player. He's still got it in him. Deeney knows where the goal is, and he can be dangerous off the bench, especially if they get a penalty because he doesn't miss them. So that's something we've got to be careful of. Dave, are there any West Brom players that you think are dangerous?
Well, let's have a little think about this. Kenneth
bear in mind, we filmed this on Wednesday night after the Republic of Ireland won through. What was the score? 3-0, 5-0,
4-0, 4-0 against Qatar. Yeah, it's. I was going to say Kenneth Sahor for a joke, but no, Callum Robinson. What an absolute beast of a player he is at the moment. For those of you that didn't see it, obviously he scored 2 goals the other night against Azerbaijan for Ireland.
The first one was a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. There were 2 very well taken goals. And then tonight was the friendly against Qatar, next year's World Cup hosts, and he went and scored a hat-trick. So 5 goals in 2 games. He is on fire.
I also believe that's his first career hat-trick as well, so congratulations to him.
Yes, and it's the first Irish hat-trick, Irish player to score a hat-trick for the Republic of Ireland in 7 years since Robbie Keane. Yeah, and it's actually it's brilliant. It's a little funny little fact. It's the first time since 1997 that someone other than Robbie Keane has scored a hat trick for Ireland. So
That is quite funny, actually.
yeah, this Robbo has got to start after those games with Ireland. He's got to start.
Absolutely.
He's on fire. He's on form. He'll be dying to score more. Just put him up front. I think he'll do the business for us.
I completely agree.
I'll be honest, there is one player who I'm slightly concerned about, and that is Alex Mowat. Now, I don't know what the current situation is on the injury front, but apparently he limped off against Stoke.
I've heard about 6 or 7 different stories with it, so I don't know which one to believe.
Yeah, I personally, I've had a look at a report, and I've got a feeling he'll be either on the bench or drop completely. I think he's going to start Malumbi instead of Mowat, maybe. It did. Go on.
I was going to say, yeah, I heard stories of broken foot. I heard the torn muscle. I've heard all sorts, but apparently it could be anything at this point. So we'll probably only find out when we see the team sheet.
Yeah, it's going to be, a difficult one. I mean, I'm hoping it's not that serious because he has been an absolute beast, so far. But we'll just have to wait and see. But if I had to call it, I'd say Malumbi would probably start in his place.
Yeah.
But I don't think, if I'm really honest, I think I'm trying to think if there'll be any sort of tactical change or if there'll be any change at all. But that's the one change I can definitely think of. But I think there's going to be a lot of, again, attacking intent, free flowing, high pressing. It's going to be, an onslaught, really, I think, of Birmingham. Because I'll be honest, if Birmingham don't turn up, then we're going to be all over them, I think.
I agree. Well, the thing me and you have both been, even ignoring the Republic of Ireland bias, we've both been big advocates for Callum Robinson being one of the first names on the team sheet. And I think if there were any doubts about it whatsoever, he's put them to bed over the international break, because he's found the goal 5 times that you can pick and choose about the nations he scored against. And if you want to be honest, and they're not prolific nations, but if you want to be picky about it, I'd challenge people to go and watch the goals back, because they're all there. Particularly his first against Azerbaijan, which was a screamer. Now, I think Matt Clark is back, which is good. I don't know if he'll start, but the fact that he's back is a positive. But at the same time, if he wants to keep Reach and Townsend, I won't find it too bad. I don't think they've done much to lose a place. But Matt Clark did shore things up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Other than that, you've not got too many changes, have you? But on the Matt Clark front, what were you going to say about that?
Well, I mean, obviously, he's coming back from an injury. He's very, probably a bit tentative. It was a bad injury. I agree. I'd stick him on the bench. But I'll be honest. I think the player who disappointed me the most at the Stoke game was Ajayi. So, if Ishmael is willing to take a risk, if he thinks that Clark will last, 60, 70 minutes without having any problems, then maybe stick Clark in Ajayi's place. But, he is coming back from an injury. It is tentative. So I wouldn't mind Ajayi, starting again.
I agree to it. I think Ajayi was disappointing, but the one player who I think should be put on the bench and he should stay there for his performance against Stoke was Hugill. Now,
yeah, I was going to say that.
Now, I'm not usually one to sort of pick at players. I've always been a massive advocate against it. So I'm not, and I don't ever agree with criticism or anything. But my God, he was poor against Stoke. And I'm not saying that is a reflection of him as a player, but he just had a shocking game against Stoke. He couldn't hold up the play. He was struggling to. He was taller than the vast majority of Stoke's players, yet they were beating him at headers. he was being out-muscled. He just couldn't. I think he should have been took off at half time. The fact that he stayed on 10 minutes after, I didn't agree with at all.
He didn't have a good game at all. I mean, we barely had a shot, if I'm being honest. It was just not good. And maybe, I mean, did Phillips start that game?
Yes, I think no, he didn't. Grant. It was the front line.
Maybe swap him for Phillips.
I'm gonna say the front line. I think was Grant, Hugill, and Robinson for that game.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, I would start Phillips maybe ahead of Hugill. He's not had the best of starts. He's not scored yet. He needs to sort of improve from that last performance. Sort of see it as a learning curve, really. But he didn't do well, and I think if he's going to start, he really needs to put in a performance if he's going to keep that start in place.
Completely agree. So before we enter the predictions, is there anything we've missed?
I can't think of anything. I will say just a little funny fact about one of our opponents. On the very, very last day before I started working from home, when the pandemic was in its very, very early stages, I walked past Troy Deeney outside my local co-op. Yeah, I literally walked past. I saw the Ranger. I'm like, that's Troy Deeney.
He's a lovely bloke. I've spoken to him.
My dad's met him, and he said he's a really nice fella. So, yeah, let's just hope he doesn't come back to haunt us after his things were exposed that he was about to sign for Albion.
Oh yeah, that's true. I read about that. I was quite irritated because I think that would have been a good signing. But I think let's go on to predictions now. I really don't like predicting games like this because I think it's such a hard one to call this sort of game because not only you can never really trust West Brom against a team that's on a bad run of form because it's very classic West Brom to end it. However, it also wouldn't surprise me if we went and put 5 past them. A draw wouldn't surprise me because I don't think either side wants to lose. I just don't know with this one. I really don't know. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go with 2-2. And whilst I don't want it to be that, I want Albion to win. I think they're both. I just think this. I think it's got a draw written all over it. But a high scoring one, an entertaining game. I'm going to go with for Birmingham scorers. I'm going to go with Deeney and Dean.
And Dean, yeah.
West Brom, I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go with Djukovic and Dean because he always scores against us. And I'm going to go for us. I'm going to go with Callum Robinson to carry on goal scoring form, and Colin Grant. What's your prediction?
Okay. Apologies in advance to everybody I know who supports Birmingham City, which is quite a few. I'm going to say 2-1 Albion, and I'm going to say the same as before with QPR. I'll say that we're going to come from behind to win. I'll say for Birmingham, I'll say Juki to score, Lucas Djukovic. And I'll say for Albion, I've got to put him in there. I'm going to say Callum Robinson to continue his goal form. And I will say Grady Diangana to score another. This is going to be close. I can't see, for some reason, I can't see either team running away with it. Certainly not Blues.
No, I can't.
But this is going to be a cracker, hopefully. Blues Albion games always seem to be unpredictable, like you say, and always give massive entertainment. So I'm looking forward to this, yet very nervous at the same time, because if we lose, I'll never be able to step foot in my local again.
So this is the first game of a very, very difficult October month. So this is Birmingham, Swansea, Bristol and Fulham. Now, obviously, we're going to be going to the away games as well, but let's start October with, when I say start October, I think the Stoke game was October, but
yeah.
Let's continue October and hopefully try and change our form around and get a win against Birmingham City. Thank you, Dave, as usual, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.